Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm just gonna pause the recording for a second. Okay, everyone, I'm gonna record. Today's webinar is to dig deeper into Google Forms. So this is a little bit beyond the basics. Um, again, this is for the Peconic Teacher Center Google Workspace Winter Series. My name is Leslie Brophy, and I am a newly Google for Education certified trainer. Okay, so let's kind of dig a little deeper into past the basics. So there are many uses for Google Forms. The more I use it, the more I come up with ideas for other ways to use it out of the in the classroom and out of the classroom. So the number one would be formative assessment, a quick way to kind of check, um, assess your students as well as do more quizzes. I'm going to kind of go a little more in depth into quizzes shortly. You could deliver assignments in Google Forms. It's a great way to differentiate instruction, and I'm going to kind of show you a little more in detail with that. Great way to take surveys, collect data on your students, as well as check-ins. And again, this is just a small example of the many things you could do with Google Forms. So the first thing I'm going to do is have you watch this quick video that kind of goes in a little bit deeper, and then we're going to kind of jump out of the presentation, and I'm going to show you kind of a little more in the app itself. Okay.
Hey there, and welcome back to EDU in 90. Tim here, and we're back with another special edition episode from Sydney, Australia.
G'day, I'm Swan, and I work with educators to implement technology used in classrooms across Australia and New Zealand. Last week, we looked at some of the innovative ways that Australian educators are using Google Forms. If you missed that episode, check it out in the description below.
And this week, we'll build on that with additional Google Forms ideas from around the world. Let's get to it. Let's start with another formative assessment idea. Nathan Gildart from Nagoya, Japan uses quiz functionality in Forms to help students identify their background knowledge before a unit. This helps pique student interest by sharing a preview of upcoming class content, and later on, the quiz can be repurposed to help students identify gaps in their knowledge when preparing for the unit test.
Around the globe, schools are leveraging Google Forms to share instructional best practices and create a culture of collaboration. At her school in Stockholm, Christy Lundstrom uses a simple form to capture data during classroom walkthroughs. She shares a summary view of this quantitative data with her staff, which helps them to develop shared professional development goals.
And in the United Kingdom, Darren White and his team leverage Google Forms to collect good practices during open classroom walkarounds. They're able to quickly record ideas of engaging and innovative observations. Later, the teaching and learning leaders at the school use the response sheet to capture the best practices at a glance. These insights can then be used to support staff who want to develop specific skills by passing along categorized best practices or by referring them to colleagues who are especially effective in that area.
And lastly, many of you recommended using forms to collect information from important groups like parents and guardians. Educator Christopher Miller takes this idea a step further by using Google Forms to deliver his class newsletter. He embeds a short video to share what he and his students are doing in class and invites parents to share feedback in the form fields below.
Well, that's all the time we have for this episode. But if you have a favorite use for Google Forms, let us know about it in the comments below.
And don't forget to subscribe to the Google for Education YouTube channel for more EDU in 90. We'll see you next time.
Looking for some new ideas using Google Forms? Check out our last episode where we share innovative uses from Australian educators.
Okay, so those are just some of the ways. I just want to quickly just jump out, stop sharing. I just wanted to confirm that we were recording, which we are. Okay, jump back in again. So one of the ways when I was teaching home and careers, my students would be in the kitchen, and I created a Google form to kind of do more of a formative assessment. Who was in each group, were they hitting all the different benchmarks that I wanted them to hit? So I would walk around and I would be filling in the data of the Google form for each group because it's kind of hard. Everyone's kind of going on the fly. So it's a great way to do a formative assessment every single day. It would automatically record the date and the time, the name of the student. Did they hit those benchmarks? And it was just super simple because I did it in the way I set it up. It was just really easy for me to do. I've also helped other teachers who are maybe special ed, who are just trying to track their different students. So it would have the name of the student and the different areas in their IP that they were trying to track. And you would then be able to look at it over a period of time on how that student was progressing. So these are just some of the ways to check in with your students and to use Google Forms. Okay, so now we're going to go into Google Forms and I'm going to kind of walk through Google Forms itself. So I'm going to open up a new tab. There are, I think, 3 or 4 ways to get to Google Forms. So one would be to go to your Waffle. You always want to make sure you're logged in with your correct Google account. Go to your Waffle. If you don't see it right away, you can kind of scroll down. Mine must be down pretty far. If it's not there, I know I'm getting blocked right now, so I'm going to move this out of the way. Let's see. Should be in here, might be down further. You could always move things around. I probably have it just down there, so you could just drag it and move it up. Another way would be to go start with Drive. So if I go to my drive.google.com, you can access most of your apps from there. Once it's there, I could click on New. Why is it not coming up? It's doing a little weird things right now. I don't know why. Usually with New, I could click on it. Very slow. There we go. It's kind of going down. It's giving me some alerts here. I go to Google Forms and I click over. I could do a blank form or I could do a form from a template. So I'll just kind of quickly show you what that looks like. So I could go to a blank form from here, but there are a ton of forms already made. So if you're doing Find a Time or RSVP, an order form, and you could take some of these and then edit it. So these are just free templates for you to take. Here's an exit ticket, or if you wanted to start with a blank quiz. So I'm not going to go there quite yet. The other way you can get there is go to forms.google.com or go to forms.new. So we'll go in that way. So you could go to slides.new, docs.new, and it just kind of quickly opens up a nice new Google form for you. So I'm going to kind of brush quickly past the basics, but just to kind of refresh your memory. So you can title the form here. So we'll just call this basic quiz. And I could click in, it's automatically going to populate it with the same name. I could give the quiz a description if I wanted to. I could also leave it blank. Okay, so we're just going to kind of go down the basics quickly, and then I'm going to kind of go into a little more depth for creating a quiz. So the first thing you'd want to do is up here is puzzle piece, and these are add-ons, and I'm not going to go into this now, but when we do extensions in add-ons, I think in a few weeks, I'll show you some add-ons for Google Forms. This is a theme. So right now it has this purple theme, but I have the ability to change it. So I could choose an image, and there are a bunch of pre-made images in here that I could choose whatever I want. Scroll down. I can upload an image. So maybe you want to create an image in Google Drawings or in Canva. You can upload it from here, or you can search your photos. So we'll just choose a theme. And I always go for the food, so we'll just click on food and dining. We're going to click in here. And I got to move this out of the way. I'm going to move this over here. And where'd it go? We'll just click on here. I'm going to double click, and it's going to automatically populate with a new theme. I could also then, it automatically changes the color to whatever the theme is, but I have some abilities to change that theme if I want to. I could also change the background color by clicking on it, and as well as the font style. So you don't have a lot of options like you would in Google Slides or Docs, but you have some. So we'll make it a little more playful and we'll kind of leave it at that. Okay, so that's a customized theme. This is preview. I use preview all the time. So as I'm creating my quiz or my Google form, I'm constantly going to the preview to see what it looks like. Settings. So the gear is always settings and there are more options in here. So I'm going to go through these and then I'm going to go into the quizzes. So you can have it where it automatically collects email addresses. Generally, if I was doing a quiz in my class, I would not have that checked on, but you could. Maybe you were collecting email addresses if you were sending a form out to parents or people outside where you want to have their email addresses. And if you want to give them a receipt, so they'll get actually the response form, what they filled out. You would have to collect email addresses, then you could collect on response receipts. So if you wanted to limit to one response, so the person could only respond once, you could click on it, but now the respondent would have to sign in and would need a Google account. So if you were going to do this for a parent, it might be a little tricky because they would need the Google account for that. These are the options. Can they edit after submit? So can they go back into the form once they submit it? If it was a quiz, you probably would not want to have that on. But maybe a formative assessment, you might want to be able to go back in there. Do you want to see summary charts and text responses? Okay, presentation is what it looks like. If it's going to be a more in-depth Google form, you might want to have a progress bar and show how far. If you have different sections, and I'll show you in a few minutes what sections are, you could kind of show, okay, you have 3 of 5 sections completed already. You could shuffle the question order. You may want to do this if you have a quiz and you're all in the classroom and you're worrying about cheating. That would be an option. And you want to show a link to submit another response. You probably would not want to do that if it was a Google form. Once they submit the form, they get a confirmation message. It defaults to your response has been recorded, but you can say whatever you want to say. And we're going to kind of look back at this. We could do what they call escape rooms. And so maybe you have it where they have to complete this and get a code in order to get out of the escape room. This would be a fun way to do this. So maybe the confirmation message would be a code and they need that code to get out. Okay, quizzes. So in this case, we're going to make a quiz. So you want to assign, make this a quiz in the settings. Once you turn this on, you have some other options. We're going to talk about these options. Releasing grades. If you want to have a self-graded quiz, and we're going to talk about bringing this into Google Classroom because this is super convenient, easy to do a quick self-graded quiz and bring it into Google Classroom. So if it's self-graded, you could say immediately release the grade after they submit it. So it automatically grades, student gets feedback with their grade as soon as they hit submit. Or it could be later after manual review. So maybe they're filling in, writing a paragraph or a short answer, and you need to review it to assign the point value, then you'd want to have later after manual review. To do that, they would have to have email collection. At this point, my district does not have email collection, so it makes it a little more difficult, but that's what that is for. Okay, respondents. So respondents can see missed questions. So maybe they skip through a question. You want them to see that, so you have that ability. Respondents can see their correct answers and they want to see the point values. You want to think about this when you're doing your quiz because maybe you don't want them to see correct answers right away. If you're working remotely, you have to worry about cheating. You might want to not release a grade immediately. And you might want to not have these toggled on. So it depends on your, your class and what you need to think about for those reasons. Okay, so we'll just leave these on for now. We'll make this immediate and I'm going to hit save. Okay, so let's start with the different question types. So we're just going to do a very basic multiple choice. and then we'll do some short answer. Okay. What color is the sky? Now, it uses artificial intelligence to read what I'm writing and then make suggestions. So right now it's giving me a definition. Okay, but we don't want that. We're just going to go with a color. I could upload an image to the question and I have a choice. So we're going to quickly talk about these choices. So short answer is a short answer, and we're going to do that next. So I'll show you what that looks like. Paragraph, you would not have a paragraph if it was self-graded, okay, but you could have a paragraph if you were grading and then you were going to assign a point value after. Multiple choice allows for one answer. So you can't do multiple answers that are correct. So multiple choice, only one answer would be correct. Check boxes would be maybe you have select all that apply, then you would want to use check boxes. Drop down would be a drop down, and we'll kind of talk about this more in a second. And then we're going to go into these a little bit more when we go more into out of the quiz section. Okay, so we got what color is the sky? We're going to make it a multiple choice. We're only going to give them one option. So we're going to type some answers in. Click in blue, yellow, and you can do as many responses as you want. If you notice when I hover over, I can see an image kind of pops up. I can add an image. So if you have young ones and you want to just do it more with pictures or images, you can do that. And I could just click highlight. I can upload a picture. I can take a picture. I can go by URL. So copy in a URL, paste it in. I could go from my photos. I could look at my Google Drive, or there is a Google image search, which is very handy to just kind of peek up. I could put the color and I could just add the color in if I wanted to. Okay, so you can do that for every one of your answers. And we're going to kind of talk about how that could be useful when we're doing a check-in with our students. Okay, so because this is a quiz, we want to give it an answer key so it can grade it. So I'm going to click on answer key, and that will only show up if in the settings you marked it that this was a quiz. So here, I could assign it a point value. So let's just say I'm going to make it just a simple quiz. We'll make it 25 points. Now I got to mark which one is correct. So I'm going to click blue. It's going to highlight it to be right. But I could also add answer feedback. And this is great. And we're going to go more into differentiation, but I want to show you now. If I was giving this a quiz and I don't know if I would use this exact question as a good example, but maybe I was giving something more in depth, and maybe then I wanted for them to go back and review something. So if they got the answer incorrect, I might want to provide them with maybe a video or a link to a website that they can now go back and refresh themselves before they answer the question again. Or I could say for the correct answer, great job. So you don't have to have both. You could just have feedback for the incorrect answer or just have feedback for the correct answer. Maybe for the incorrect answer, I want to add a video. This is a bad example, but you'll get the point. I don't know if there's going to be a thing. What color is the sky? So I don't know if it would work, but then I can add a video, select it, and bring it in. So now the feedback is a video that they're now going to watch. All right. And then I could do that also with a link. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to just remove that one because it didn't make much sense. And I'm going to save it. Okay. So I could go back in and edit if I decide I want to change it, or I could delete my feedback whatsoever. When I'm done, I click done. So now this question is complete. I have my question. I put my responses in there and I can see how many points it is. You can have required questions. So maybe you want them to take a guess, even if they don't know, so you can make it required. What I didn't add, and what I would do always, and this is a common mistake I see with teachers all the time, always put the student's name in. So I always have them put last name and I separate it. It knows artificial intelligence. It automatically changes it to a short answer, and I always make it required. I guess keep the answer key, no points, because this is not a graded question. I'm going to take it, I'm going to drag it up. Then I'm going to do another one, and I'm going to do first name, same thing. Going to make it required. It's automatically going to give a short answer, and it's in the right place. I'm ready to go. If I was teaching at the secondary level and I was working with periods, I could add another question and say period, and I can make this a drop down, or I can make it a checkbox, and I could say period 1. Notice it has add all, so it only went up to 5, but I could just keep continuing until I have 9 periods. And again, we would want to make that required. Now, you have some options if you are secondary and students are taking this over multiple classes. They could all be in the one form, Google form. And then once it went into the Google spreadsheet, which I'll show you in a minute, you could separate the different periods by that point. You could also make a copy of the form and just call it basic quiz period 1, however you want to do it. So multiple ways you could do it, and it's kind of your own preference of how you want to do that. Okay, so now we're back into the quiz. So now we're going to add another question. So for this one, we're going to maybe say, we're going to make this more a image-based question. So we're going to kind of go into map. Which picture represents a hexagon? Okay, so now I want to go into images. So I'm going to click over here and I'm going to hover over. I could use my Google image search and I could do a search for a hexagon. It's going to come on up. I could click on the one I want and then I can insert it. Okay, you don't have to have a name if you want. Maybe you just call it A. We're going to add another option and we'll do another search. Google image. Octagon. Click on there. So it's really easy to add pictures in there, and we'll just do one more. Image search. And we'll just do a triangle. And it added in there. Notice it automatically put in C. It kind of uses that artificial intelligence. So now I'm going to give it an answer key. I'm going to make it 25 points. I could have hit the up or down arrow. I'm going to choose the correct one. And again, I could go add answer feedback if I want to. Incorrect answer, correct answers. I could add links and I could add in YouTube videos. And I'm going to hit done. The last one I'm going to show you is more of a, maybe we want to kind of have a short answer. Let's see. I'm not good at what word means happy? So now we want to do a short answer. So not a multiple choice. We're going to go to a short answer. So now students can respond in different ways. So I'm going to go into the answer key and we'll give this 25 points. Now we're going to type in the correct answer. So I probably didn't give the best example, but we'll say glad. So maybe they'll say glad with a capital G, and this was probably not the correct sentence, to use, but you could give as many as you want. So you could give a bunch of different responses. All of them would be considered correct. They would all be self-graded, and you can mark all other ones incorrect. If I didn't check that, it would not be self-graded. And then again, I could answer feedback and hit done. So these are just a few of the different types of quiz questions we could do. Let's see, we'll do one more. So I'm going to now add a video. So maybe then I want to show them do a video on the water cycle. And again, this is a mishmash, but you can get an idea of where I'm kind of going with it. So you could do a search, watch a video. Again, I would kind of vet this before I would put it out for the students to watch. It automatically puts the video in. This is not considered a question. It's kind of just putting information in there, but we are grading this as a quiz. So I could say, watch the video and then answer the question. So now they're going to watch the video, and now I'm going to add another question. And I'm just going to make this up. What? Okay, what is part of the water cycle? I'm just going to go A, B, C, D. We're going to add it all. So you could obviously fill it in with the correct answers. We'd have an answer key. Let's say it's D. Again, we could give feedback and 25 points or whatever your point value you want it to be. It does not have to be the same. It could be different. And I believe now, although don't quote me, I believe you can have half points as well. Okay, so now I have my questions in here. And again, this is a lot of different subjects, so you normally would keep it to one thing. You can make it required or not. So now I have my thing. So what I would do is preview. I'd probably be previewing as I was going. So we got a basic quiz. This is what it looks like when the students are taking it. They would put their last name, and we'll just kind of fill this out so you get an idea. Period. So this is the checkbox. You go down, they would click on what they want. What color is the sky? So we have blue. And they could clear it and then change it to something else. I think they could just change it from there. Okay, so this is kind of what the image looks like. What picture represents a hexagon? So we'll make that one incorrect. And go down, what word means happy? So I put glad as being one of them with a capital G, so I have those options. Now I have the ability to watch the video right from in here and it will play. And what's nice about playing it from within here, although they could click on YouTube, is to open it up into another tab. They don't get all the distracting advertisements and all that. So which part is the water cycle? I don't even know which one I put. Correct. And I would hit submit. So your response has been recorded again, and that's where I kind of showed you where you would put whatever you wanted once they submit. And I can click view score. It's going to bring me in. It's going to tell me I got 50 out of 100 correct. Okay. And kind of shows me what I got wrong. You would not want to be showing this if you were giving a quiz and the students you were remote. You have to worry about the kids sharing information. So I've seen this happen very often with the kids cheating with these Google Forms. Okay, so that's kind of what it looks like. My suggestion is whenever you're creating a quiz, is complete it yourself to make sure it's giving the data you want on the other end, because many times you do it and it could have been done differently. That could have saved you time in the long run or was not getting the correct information out. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my original quiz, which is right here. But I want to show you how you would bring a quiz into Google Classroom if you were uploading it. So it would automatically, so I'm just going to kind of go into one. It's automatically going to mark it complete. So you're going to put it in as an assignment. So let me just go into anyone here. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go into a class. I'm going to create. And I'm going to create an assignment. I'm going to call it test quiz. I can give directions, complete the quiz. But the way I want to put it in, move this out of the way, is I'm going to add it from my Google Drive. I don't suggest the create quiz assignment. For some reason, it just never comes out right. It just does something weird in the background. So I always just create an assignment. I'm going to find my quiz and I'm going to insert it. I do not want to add. Why did it not show up? Let's see. Let me try this again. It should have come up with make it a quiz, and I don't know why I didn't. I'm going to give it a try again. I don't. Normally it would come up, make this a quiz or automatically import. I don't know. I just want to make sure I am correct on here. I don't know why it's not showing up. It's making a liar out of me. I'm going to try this one more time. Otherwise, it might just be from my personal account. It's working a little differently. But you'd want to get add it from your Google Drive and upload it. Came up with both. I don't know why. Normally it would just say import grades automatically. You toggle it on and that's all you need to do. So of course it's making a liar out of me right now and I'm not quite sure why that is. But that's how you would bring it in. You would not want to add a video or another link in there because then it won't mark the assignment done. So if the student was going to go in and create and take this quiz, they would take the quiz, they would hit submit. It would automatically mark done in your Google Classroom. It will automatically import the grades to the quiz right in there. You'd be able to see all their grades right there. So I'm just going to delete this out of here. But that's how you would do a quiz. So hopefully that answered the quizzes for the thing. And you could see the total points. So as you're going and you're adding everything in right there, you could see it there. Okay, so now you could go into responses. So now you have all your students' responses. Obviously right now you only have mine, but what's nice is you get all this data. You could see what the average grade is, the median, the range. And so this is the summary section. What were the frequently missed questions? And then it goes into all the individual data. Each question, how many got each question right? So there's a lot of information that you can get from this quiz. So that's the summary. You could also go by question and go flow through the different questions and see how they all responded and the grades, and then by individual person. What I love most about this is for every Google form that is created, I can automatically create a spreadsheet or a Google Sheet. To do that, I would go into responses and I would click on this little green button. Once I click on there, it gives me an option, create a new spreadsheet or select an existing one. I pretty much always create a new spreadsheet. It's always going to title it the same name as the Google form, but with responses in parentheses afterwards. And you're going to hit create. From there, it's going to automatically open up a Google Sheet. Timestamp is automatic. So it automatically timestamp when it was done. So if you were giving a quiz to the students, you would see right away the exact date and time that it was taken. You would see their score. I got 50 out of 100, everybody's name, what period, again. So if I was a secondary and I had 4 classes taking this same quiz, I could then just search for all the period 4 and I have everything in one spreadsheet, all my data, or I could have copied the Google form quiz and just had a separate spreadsheet for each one of my classes. So that's your own personal preference. And then here's all the responses to the questions. Okay, so that is the basics of doing a quiz. Now I'm going to show you a Google form that I created to deliver content. So I'm going to call it Dig Deeper with Google Forms. And this is when you want to use Google Forms for delivering content. Maybe you want to differentiate instruction. So I kind of created this for teachers to learn about Google Forms. So I'm going to kind of walk you through this in different sections, and then I'm going to kind of toggle back and forth to show you some of the features of this. So sections we haven't talked about, but sections are great to separate different areas. And this would be good if you want to bring a student or someone to a section based on their response. So these are the title name, and then this is my directions. So again, I always suggest last name and first name. If you were elementary, you might want to have a drop-down list of all of your students in there. So they just got to check on your student. They just got to click down and check on their name and go in that way. So that would be another option for ones that might take a long time to type in their name. So Google Forms can be used for, I put an image in as a header. So we talked about this a little bit: formative assessment, summative assessment, surveys, data collection, all of the above. So it's kind of a great way to kind of get students learning about something by taking a non-stakes or a no-stakes game. So we're going to talk about sections in a little bit, but I could say, okay, after this section, you're going to go to another section. We're just going to have them continue right to section number 2. So this is Google Form Basics. So Google Forms offers suggestions. So to what type of questions and responses, for themes and fonts to use, or for spelling and grammar. So it uses artificial intelligence to kind of think about what type of question it is and what responses are. We kind of saw that before when I was doing the quiz. Here, it's the box, so they could check all that apply. It's not a multiple choice. So remember the different questions. So if they go over here, you would change it. Multiple choice, only one response, and check boxes, they have multiple choices. So I'm going to just delete that one out of here. Okay, so the correct answer on that would be to what type of question and responses. Students can be taken to different sections based on the responses. That is true. So we're going to talk about more creating different sections. The section is here, but so let's kind of, actually, I'll jump over there, and we're going to start with a new Google form. And we'll just talk about, deliver content. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create some sections. So we kind of talked about these are the different types of questions. You can import questions from other quizzes. So if you have a quiz that you are creating and now you want to kind of bring in some questions from another form that you have, you can easily click on here. It's going to come up with all your other forms. And so let's say I want to take that basic quiz and I want to bring in, I'm going to select that one. It's going to take, oh, this thing keeps going in my way. I'm going to move you over here. I could say, okay, I want to have the last name. I want to have the first name. I want to have a period in here. That's pretty much it. So this is just the basics of what I always have. I could say import these 3 questions. So it's automatically going to bring it in. Nice and simple. I don't have to do it every time. I'm just going to delete this one out of here. So that's importing quizzes. This is to add an image like I showed you before. This is the bring in the YouTube video, but this is to add a section. So if I add a section, it's going to automatically just do it right after the first section. And I can move things up and down, so don't worry if it goes into a place where it just doesn't make sense. I could title this basic information. So maybe I want to keep this the basic information. I want to have the last name. I'm going to just kind of drag it down. I could give a description if I wanted to, but maybe I want to move this basic information up, deliver content down. So I could click on here. Sorry, click here, and I'm going to move section, and I'm going to move it up. So I could click on here. I'm going to move it on up and save. Okay, so don't worry if something is not where it needs to be, you can move everything around. So we're gonna start with section 1 being basic information. Okay, and now I'm gonna have them continue to the next section. And here is my next section right here. So now I could add some questions. And moved it up. We didn't want it up here. So I'm gonna go down to the bottom into the deliver content. Whoop. Sorry, I'm having trouble moving this thing. Okay. So now we're going to deliver content and I can ask some questions. So maybe, let's see, maybe I want to bring them to, show them an image. And we'll just go back to the water cycle. Show them an image and insert. And this could be, what is condensation? I could give my different responses, add all, A, B, C. Okay. I can make this a quiz, but I don't need to make this a quiz. I can have them guess. I can make this required, but maybe what I want to do is set up another section. If they get it wrong, maybe we want to bring them to another area. So now we have section number 3, water cycle. Okay, so I'm going to go back up in here and on my 3 dots, I'm going to click here and I'm going to go to section based on answer. Once I do this, this little pop-up comes up here. So basically I'm saying, if you hit one of these, I want to bring you to a different section. So maybe if they got it incorrect, I want to bring them to the section that says, go to section 3, water cycle. Okay, so maybe question number A was correct. And okay, they got the answer correct and they could submit the form. But all these answers were incorrect. So I'm going to say, go to section 3, go to water cycle, go to section 3, water cycle. Maybe then what I'll do in the water cycle is add a video on the water cycle so they can now learn about the water cycle. They can click on it and select it. Okay, so this should be moved down to here. And I'm going to show you what this looks like in a second. So, whoop, didn't want to go in there. This is not wanting to move. Okay, so now it in there. So again, you would say, watch the video below. Okay, so basically what this looks like when we go to preview it is I could click up here. I got my basic information. So we'll put my name in, should be required. I could put my period in here, but now I'm forced to go to the next section. So this is the basic information and you could section this off any way you want. And I'm going to hit next because it won't let me continue until I add that information in here. Now is my image. I could look at the image. I could answer the question, what is condensation? Let's say that C is what I choose. Now, if I hit next, I'm forced to kind of go in and watch the video. I could also then ask questions, watch the video, and then I could ask again, what is condensation? Hopefully then they could get the correction right. Then from there, we could submit. But I can go back and let's just kind of look at if I got it right. And I got the answer correct, I would hit next. And it's automatically going to say, okay, you've submitted. So you could kind of see how you could go to different areas based on how the student responds to the question. Okay, so data collection. We're getting back into my dig deeper. Data collection from Google Forms can be sent to Google Docs, Slides, Sheets, or none of the above. So Google Forms automatically gets data gets collected into Google Sheets. You can insert the following into Google Forms: videos, files, and images, all of the above. So the correct answer is all of the above. We didn't talk about inserting files, but basically you could take a website. So we'll just go to We'll just go to newsella.com. We're going to find an article. So maybe we found something, and I'll find something here on the water cycle, but let's just kind of I just want to kind of grab anything right now. Okay, so let's say this was an article I wanted to bring them to. I can copy, and you want to make sure you kind of double click so you have the HTTPS in here. I'm going to triple click, copy this. Now I'm going to go into my form. And what I could do is if I was either having them, if this was a quiz and I was giving feedback, or I could add another question, and I can go to this website and complete. And then I can add Control V. It doesn't look it on here, but this is a clickable link that the students be able to go to. The better place I could see that is if you wanted them to go check out a website if they got an incorrect answer. This link can be added anywhere. It could be added to the response. It could be added to the feedback that they gave if it was a quiz. So there's a lot of places that you can add a link to. Okay. Google Forms can be customized for theme and font style. That is true. I showed you that earlier. Using video. So I know a lot of people use Edpuzzle to kind of ask questions. What we cannot do is kind of stop the video along the way, but this is a great way to enter a video in and then answer questions along the way. And they could be a long answer. So it could be more of a paragraph answer where they're watching a video and kind of using some deeper thinking, giving more of a response, or it could be multiple choice or a short answer. So it depends on if you want it self-graded or what kind of response you were looking to get from them. So there are a lot of ways to use Google Forms in the classroom. There are a ton of resources out there for that. Ditch That Textbook has a lot of information, but if you do ways to use Google Form in the classroom, you're going to come up with a ton of different ways. Okay, so differentiation. So this is kind of goes different places based on the response. So I kind of showed you this before, and this is a little more in depth. So how confident are you for using Google Forms? So I could say, know it like the back of my hand. Okay, you're ready to go. Submit the form. I know the basics, but would like to learn more. So now it brings you to an extension activity where it'll bring you to that section and they're going to learn more about Google Forms. I still need to learn the basics is the third response, and that brings them back to the Google Forms basics. So if you kind of go down, here's the extension activity. Click on the link below to learn more about Google Forms. And here is a playlist on Google Forms. So you can kind of see how based on the responses, it could bring them to different areas where they learn more about the content. So I think I kind of showed you a lot. The other way we kind of didn't cover too much, but I just want to show you. It is a great way to use Google Forms for check-ins. So you can check in with your students, just a quick Google Form question, their name. How are you doing today? You could put in an emoji, thumbs up, thumbs down. Maybe if they give a thumbs down, you bring them to a new section and say, hey, what's going on? You want to schedule a time to meet. So a great way to do check-ins, especially right now where a lot of the students are remote and you kind of can't really see where they are, how they're doing. A check-in is a great way to kind of check in with them, whether you do that weekly, or maybe you're checking in with them on projects that they're working on. So I covered a lot with you. I think I'm going to stop recording from here.